Hey, what's going on, guys? Kevin here, and in this video, Joe and I are going to share our NFL DFS Week 3 picks. Joe's going to kick it off with his picks first, and then I'll follow it up with some picks of my own. Let's go.
Thanks, Kev. If any of you guys checked out my Week 2 high stakes review on my channel on Tuesdays, you'll know it was a tough week for myself and a lot of other sharp players across the industry, unless you have the Patriots defense. But before we dive into it, just want to let you guys know if you're looking for any other DFS or betting content throughout the week, definitely check out my channel as well. Kev's going to throw a link in the description below. Before we get into my top 5 picks for Week 3, I do want to tell you guys as well that I do a live every Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern Time on Twitch, just to take a little bit of Q&A before kickoff. If you want to come hang out, twitch.tv/Joe Holka. See you there. All right, guys, my first GPP pick for today is going to be at the running back position. And I know we always talk about paying up for volume, right? There's a couple guys that are in great spots this week that I think will be extremely popular. I'm actually going to go with Saquon Barkley at 9,100 as kind of a pivot off of those guys that we'll talk about. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, those guys are going to be heavily owned, and they're great plays. But Saquon at 9,100, I think some people might not go there against this Tampa Bay team. They are on the road. It's not a great team total, but I do think that anytime that we get a change in quarterback, especially when that quarterback was Eli Manning, I think Daniel Jones could actually invigorate this team. He's someone that actually performed really well in the preseason. He does have a little bit of rushing equity as well, which always helps the running back position. So I actually think Saquon is interesting. If we can project him for anywhere near his kind of 23 to 26 touches or so, we know a bunch of those are going to come through the air as well. So I think that he's a great pivot in GPPs this week, and that's what I want to do with the running back position. I want to pivot towards these guys that still have elite upside as far as touches. Not necessarily interested in just paying down for these guys where I'm just hoping they get a certain amount of carries. We can save that for other positions. So GPP picks number 2 and number 3 are both going to be at the cheap end of the wide receiver spectrum this week. And I know that everyone probably expects me to say Nelson Agholor. He's going to be heavily owned, especially without Deshaun Jackson, without Alshon Jeffrey. The target share there just makes him a great value play at 3,600. I'm actually not going to go there, though. I think we need to look at pivots outside of Agholor. So I'm looking at 2 guys. The first one, Devon Smith for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that he is certainly in a great spot to take over the exact role that we saw for Michael Gallup, former second-round pick. He's only 3,400, so similar price range as Agholor. I really like this Dallas game, obviously, against Miami. Just playing guys against Miami has been really profitable this year, but we know team total is super important at the position of wide receiver. So Devon Smith is definitely a field stretcher as well. He's going to give you some upside. I don't think his ownership's going to get out of control, except in stacks with Dak Prescott and the rest of the Cowboys. On his own, I think he makes a really nice upside play in GPPs. And then if we kind of look down as well, I think that a lot of people are going to be off Pittsburgh in general with Rudolph at quarterback. But one guy that I do expect still to be a guy that we can consider playing, James Washington. He's someone that, with Rudolph behind center, especially in the preseason, has just gone absolutely nuts. Obviously, these guys, from dating back to when they played together in college, have had a lot of chemistry. 3,500 for James Washington. Still think he's running the type of routes that we want from these upside wide receivers. You'll get him at drastically lower ownership, I believe, than Nelson Agholor. I think that both him and Devon Smith have a ton of upside this week in GPPs. So I mentioned that Philadelphia is extremely shorthanded. If it doesn't end up being Nelson Agholor that takes advantage of that, it could easily be Zach Ertz. So if we're talking GPPs, if Ertz ends up approaching like that 20 to 25% ownership level, I'm kind of trying to figure out where else we can go in that salary range. So my 4th pick for you guys this week, George Kittle, 5,600. He's a guy that I think that price is kind of insane, to be completely honest. If we just look at his usage and kind of, he's had a couple of close calls as far as touchdowns that he hasn't gotten in the end zone. Of course, that's not going to continue. He's definitely seeing the type of targets that we want from a tight end in general. He's running a ton of routes, and I actually like the idea of kind of going the Kittle route when everyone's going to play Ertz. He's a $100 cheaper as well. I don't love that San Francisco has been running the ball so much. They're actually 31st in offensive pass percentage this year, but they are a home favorite against Pittsburgh. So I think that that's an interesting spot to go, especially when the field is going to be all over Zach Ertz this week. The 5th pick I have for you guys, it's going to be a stack. We're going to continue to finish this thing off with a stack every week. So I'm actually super interested in going all the way down at quarterback. Kyle Allen, we're going to mix him around with Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey and kind of go with a 3-man stack there. I love the equity that you get with just paying all the way down at quarterback. I'm not that impressed with Kyle Allen by any means, but at 4K, when a lot of people are going to be paying up for Lamar Jackson at 7K, maybe even Patrick Mahomes at 7,600, it makes it pretty easy to play Christian McCaffrey. So I mentioned that he might be a pivot. I still think that McCaffrey is totally in play for tournaments, and I think this is a unique way to do it in stacking him with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is someone that if we want to talk a little bit about at least that the Carolina Kyle Allen has done well, it's been with Samuel in the preseason, but also dating back to last year. I think Curtis Samuel's price is pretty bad at this point, so I think that he will definitely draw some ownership, but I think the three of these guys together could be a little bit lower owned than it should be against Arizona. Curtis Samuel at 4,800 definitely is going to draw some ownership, I think, but Arizona's the team we're going to target because there's going to be a ton of plays in these games. So I love the idea of stacking up Carolina, getting access to that. You can even bring it back with someone like Christian Kirk or Larry Fitzgerald on the other side of this game. I think that's a really good way to go in tournaments. It's a lot harder to stack up this Kansas City and Baltimore game than you guys might realize because of the salary. All right, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to kick it back over to Kev. But before I do, just wanted to remind you guys, if you don't have a ton of time to research throughout the week, throw me the follow on Instagram. Every Saturday afternoon, I throw my top 5 picks for every position on the Instagram page. So a lot of people have found that extremely valuable. It actually did relatively well last week, so I should probably start taking my own advice.
Thanks for those picks, Joe. We got about 2 hours to kick off, so I just wrote down my plays for this week, and I'm just going to read out a couple quick points, and then I'm going to go build my lineups. So my first play here this week is going to be Rex Burkhead, 3,900. It was just announced that James White won't play in this game. The Patriots are at home versus the Jets as 21-point favorites. Rex Burkhead will probably get some carries, and he's also a threat in the passing game. So at that price, it allows you to spend up on some other running backs like Zeke or McCaffrey, 2 guys that I'll be targeting this week. My next play here is going to be Darren Waller. So again, I want to spend up on guys like Zeke or McCaffrey, Delvin Cook, those type of guys that are a little higher priced. So I need to save some money. So I've got Darren Waller here, 4,100. He hasn't been talked about much this week. He was talked about quite a bit the first 2 weeks, but I think he's in a decent spot. He's got playing against the Vikings, but for the price, he's gotten 7 and 8 targets in his first 2 games. He's put up 12 and 14 DraftKings points without scoring a touchdown. So I do think he has the upside to put up maybe 20 DraftKings points. Not sure if it will happen today, but I needed some savings at tight end, and I like the play at 4,100 with no one really talking about him. So for GPPs, I think Waller makes a good play at 4,100. So Burkhead at 3,900, Waller at 4,100. Those 2 guys will allow you to spend up elsewhere. That's what I'm going with in my lineup. Good luck this week, guys. Hopefully one of you guys wins $1 million or just a big prize in general. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and good luck this week.